Supporting the Distressed Against the Tricks of Satan by Imam Ibn Al-Qayyim Al-Jawziyah. Translation and summary by Abdul Ali Hamid. Darus Salam. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Forward. When Allah, glory be to him, created Adam, peace be upon him, he ordered all the angels to bow down to him. They all did except Iblis, devil or Satan, who refused to obey the order of Allah. He became disobedient and argued that he was created by fire, and Adam was by mud, and fire was superior to mud. For his arrogant attitude, Allah cursed him and expelled him from paradise. Iblis vowed to misguide the progeny of Adam because of him being disgraced. So far he is performing his job with precision, and he spreads his deceptive trap all over the world to stop people from following the way of Allah and his messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Satan has plentiful tricks up his sleeve and ingeniously employs them according to the status and circumstances of a person. This book reveals the most common tricks used by Satan. It is written by Ibn Al-Qayyim Al-Jawziyah, an outstanding and prolific writer. He seems to have comprehensive knowledge of Satan and his tricks, and decided to enlighten the servants of Allah so that they may take precaution against them and protect their faith and good deeds. The assault of Satan begins at level of the heart, which is a seat of faith and century of intellect. He strives to whisper erroneous ideas in the heart and trap a person by his wicked schemes and tricks in order to mislead the people. Since the heart is the main target of the Satan, the author starts with describing its types. He divides the heart into healthy, sick, and dead, and speaks about each of them. Then he deals with the illnesses of the heart, followed by their treatment. According to Ibn Al-Qayyim, the illnesses of the heart can be treated by natural medicine or by religious methods. In the following chapter, he ascertains that the alive and healthy heart produces all the good, while a dead and dark heart is the source of all evil. Then he emphasizes that the life and health of the heart cannot be achieved unless it is able to discern the truth and prefer it over falsehood. Chapter 6 deals with the most important issue, that the heart cannot achieve happiness, contentment, and pleasure unless its creator becomes the focus of worship, a primary objective and more beloved than anything else. In the following chapter, he affirms that the Quran contains all the sources of treatment of the diseased heart. How can one purify his heart and strengthen it? This is the subject of the next chapter. Subsequently, he discusses the way in which the heart can be protected from the domination of the soul with all its evils in it. In chapter 12, he explains how the heart can be treated from illnesses caused by Satan. Chapter 3 is the final chapter and the most detailed one. It deals with the wicked tricks of Satan, which he uses to misguide the servants of Allah. The book is divided into 13 chapters, and according to the author, the last one is the main objective and the inspiration of writing this book. The writing of Ibn Al-Qayyim includes many digressions, as during the discussion of an issue he starts explaining, then leaving the main topic aside. This is a very salient feature of his writing, which can be seen in all his books. For example, while dealing with the stratagem of Satan for obstructing people from the right path, he began detailing the ways of getting away from the plots of others. He said a section about the schemes of Satan using the tricks, stratagem, and deception, and then started discussing the hila, or maneuver, whether it is allowed or not. He cited the arguments of the scholars who held that all tricks are forbidden, and announced that plots and stratagem are not allowed because it is not tantamount to deceiving Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then he listed some permissible devices to escape a difficult situation. He mentioned 80 cases and suggested some devices to benefit the person trapped in a problem. Then he proceeded to discuss the types of devices and tricks and refund the claim of those who allowed the use of tricks to reach a prohibited goal. This discussion and the analysis is spread over 254 pages of original book. Another example is that he wrote 106 pages about the people who suffer from doubts in their actions and go to extremes. He detailed their actions in performing ablution and wasting a large quantity of water because they are not sure, while the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam advised his community not to waste water. He also mentioned their confusion when they made intention or performed the prayer. There are some other examples of this type of digression. The book, in its original Arabic format, contains 1,151 pages. I abridged and selected the matters which I thought would be useful to English readers. One thing is to be noted that he calls Satan the enemy of Allah, while the Quran never described him with this title. It calls Satan the enemy of man. Allah Almighty rebuked Adam and his wife when they approached the tree which Allah has commanded them not to approach, saying, "Did I not warn you that Satan was your sworn enemy?" Surah 7, verse 22. The Almighty commanded human beings, "Do not follow Satan's footsteps, for he is your sworn enemy." Chapter 2, verse 208. Satan is man's sworn enemy. Chapter 12, verse 5. Satan is your enemy, so treat him as an enemy. Chapter 35, verse 6. There are many other places where Satan has been described as the enemy of human beings. Chapter 28, verse 15, chapter 36, verse 60, chapter 43, verse 62, chapter 17, verse 53. In this book, the author discussed only those schemes of Satan by which he tries to mislead mankind and lead them astray. In another book, he describes some other tricks of Satan by which he directs a man to wrong path by inspiring him to perform good deeds. Satan encourages man to do more and more until he fills his mind with arrogance and pride, and the person starts thinking that he is better than others. In this way, he spoils all his hard-earned good deeds. He discussed the case of Talil. That is when a person announces 3 divorces at one time, making his wife prohibited for him, and hires someone else to have intercourse with her to make her permissible for him. He looked at the situation fully and confirmed that the right way of divorce, as prescribed by the Quran and the Sunnah, is to announce one divorce and stop. If the husband wants to return to his wife in the waiting period, he can do so. But if the waiting period expires, still he has a chance of reconciliation with his wife by activating a new contract. Allah, out of His mercy, has allowed sufficient stage-wise opportunities to men to redress their hasty decisions. Based on this provision of the Quran, any number of divorces announced at one time was considered as one. Example: the first one, which will be followed by remaining two if the need arises. This system, that 3 divorces pronounced at one time is to be considered as one, was practiced by Muslims in the time of the Messenger ﷺ, and throughout the regime of Abu Bakr and a few years of Umar's rule. Then Umar decided to change it because he thought that the people showing haste in this enormous matter were supposed to be patient. To penalize or discipline people, he announced that anyone who pronounces 3 divorces together will be valid and his wife will become unlawful for him. Unfortunately, this ruling was accepted by the majority of the jurists. The author asserts that people faced a dilemma and sadly, they devised a way out suggested by Satan. The person who pronounced 3 divorces together and thus made his wife unlawful to him agreed another person to marry his wife for a night, have intercourse with her, and divorce her on the following day. A very shameful act indeed. Furthermore, the author puts all the arguments in a detailed and logical way. He also dealt in detail with the case of the people who are enchanted by beautiful faces, male or female, and commit all kinds of sin with them. He considers this the big plot of Satan and advises people to be very careful in this matter. The author also detailed the causes and process of people being involved in idol worshipping. The origin or root cause of idol worshipping was showing respect to the graves of the religious people, which later turned into worshipping them. He portrays the acts of those who are trapped by Satan in grave worshipping and laments over their irrational actions. He points out to many groups of idol worshippers and says the most of the people of the world are associated with this act of shirk, polytheism, except Hunafa, who follow the path of the Tawheed, or pure monotheism. He speaks about the various groups who worship different objects. Some worship fire, others water, and some all types of animals and stars. He also spoke about the magicians and philosophers. Ibn Al-Qayyim gave a detailed description of the falsity of the Christians, their worship of the cross, and painting the pictures of Jesus, his mother Mary, and many saints. At the end, he gives detailed information about the Jews, the people who deserved the wrath of Allah because of their disobedience to his commands and gross misconduct towards their prophets. They were the people whom Allah favored by his grace, but instead of being grateful to him, they were ungrateful and subjected their prophets to oppression and mockery. They changed the rulings of the Torah, altered its texts, and distorted the teachings of the prophets. He cited many examples of their misdeeds and affirmed that they rightly deserve the wrath of Allah Almighty. We notice that Ibn Al-Qayyim has gained extensive insight into the devices and tricks used by Satan, aiming to misguide people. He writes with brilliance, skills, and experience acquired by meticulously observing the behavior of people around him, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. He is known for his microscopic observations of people, and he noticed the handiwork of Satan and its harmful impact. He also benefited from his vast reading and commendable knowledge of the Quran and Hadith. He was disturbed by noticing the success of Satan with the servants of Allah, who follow his ways in order to satisfy their whims, to become popular among the masses. He tried to warn people against the tricks of Satan in many of his works, whereas this book was written exclusively on this subject. The book is a detailed one and indicated earlier. I only selected the paragraphs which I found useful and translated them into English language for the benefit of those who are not able to read and understand Arabic. I hope they will find the book useful and enlightening. May Allah grant peace and comfort to the soul of the author and grant us his forgiveness and mercy. It is worth noting that the subheadings mentioned in the table of contents are mainly for the benefit of the reader and not mentioned in the respective chapters. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Zubair Chowdhury, who pursued the manuscript and put it in order. He made valuable suggestions to improve the text and gave it the final form. May Allah reward him well for his help. Abdul Ali Hamid, Slough, Berkshire, United Kingdom. On our next read, we will read the introduction, How to Get Rid of the Tricks of Satan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good night.